Reach one of the targets. Arming signal received, Mandalore. That's the last of them, Mandalore. We can destroy the ship on your command.
Admiral Onasi wanted to speak with you, sir.
It's a little beat up, but it's still home. I wasn't able to be here to protect it when the Sith attacked the first time. This time you gave me a second chance. I owe you. I've read your records, how the Jedi sentenced you for doing what you believed. You wandered past the Outer Rim during your exile. I ask you, did you find any trace of Revan? I served with him like you did, and we had to part ways like you did. He said that there were places where he had to walk where I could not go, places where having allies, or anyone he cared about, would only place them in danger. It's been 4 years, and I still don't know what happened to him. He told me to stay here to try to keep the Republic strong, and that he would return. It was the hardest request I ever had to follow. I don't know, but it was important to him. He said that he believed something had been behind the Mandalorian Wars, that it hadn't been the Mandalorians' choice to attack the Republic. Whatever it was, I think he went off to find it, to fight it. It was near the end of the Jedi Civil War, when it seemed like we were going to lose everything. We met on a Republic warship called the Aspyr. It was being attacked over Terrace, and the Sith had stormed the ship. We saved the Republic, but it was like the war didn't end for him. He would keep remembering things that he'd done, and it kept driving him. And I think he finally remembered something terrible that he'd done during the Mandalorian Wars, and he went to put an end to it. He left a lot of people who cared about him behind. But I think he did it because he thought it was the right thing to do. But whatever he set out to do, I don't think he succeeded. And here you return, with his ship, without him. Yes, wherever he went, your ship's been there. If you return to that place, if you find some trace of Revan, no, simply tell him that Admiral Onasi is following his orders. Safe journey, exile.
Did he know?
No, he didn't.
There are times I fear we shall never know where he left Karth. And I cannot live not knowing the answer. Why he sought to protect us.
He asked us to stay, to keep the Republic safe. It was important to him. And after meeting the exile, I'm convinced that there are worse things to lose in the galaxy.
It has been some time.
You were a fool to return. I spared you once. I will not do so again. Why have you returned?
Because now I understand why the exile did what he did. There is much to be done.
If the exile has come here, then he has not come alone.
Of course, apprentice. The Huntress is with the exile. She has a special talent for finding that which should remain lost. It also makes her difficult for me to sense, but not to a creature bred for such things.
Shall I send the assassins for her?
No, I have brought a beast to Malachor to deal with that one. If she survives, she will become stronger for it.
Well, here's a surprise. Yet another slice of galactic paradise. If you ever go to Alderaan or Ithor or someplace without metal, jagged rocks, or packs of bloodthirsty beasts, Hanhar. Oh, you have to be kidding me. Hello.
If you are watching this, and what the General suspected was true, the Sith are striking from the graveyard of Malachor 5. The ship the Sith Lord was on was one of the vessels damaged in that final battle. If you reach Malachor's surface, the mass shadow generator can be undone, provided there are enough vessels intact within the orbiting debris or buried in the planet's surface. Use the sequence I am unlocking in your memory banks on the engine core of any vessel you encounter on Malachor. If my calculations are correct, 4 vessels should be enough to power up the mass shadow generator and undo the damage that was done in Malachor 5, the damage I did. Once the sequence has begun, it cannot be stopped, so make sure the General is off the planet before triggering the sequence. Otherwise, there will be no retreat. I know your weapon systems are minimal, and I don't know what awaits you on Malachor's surface. Try to avoid contact with any potential threats. Follow your programming.